as leather crafters, there are times when we have tools such as these that we need to have a home for. And quite honestly, simply having them stuck somewhere just isn't good enough, because, you know, these are end punches, and I noticed that they get dinged around. These aren't the highest quality round end punches there are. Not by any means. They are inexpensive ones from Amazon. And really, that's all I use. All I really need. I don't need anything super high quality right now. There will come a time when I do need to buy some other ones that are going to be a little higher quality. These are some, I guess you'd call them, I don't know, semicircle. They're partial. They're not half round or quarter round or nothing, but just semi round punches. But they do what I need them to do. But I need to have a place to put them. Just bunching them up and stuff kind of nicks up the edges and that kind of thing. And being round like that, they're kind of a pain in the butt to sharpen. But I do sharpen them. I do kind of take the edge and clean it up and do what needs to be done. I use a dowel on the inner portions where it's curved. But sometimes, you know, you just have to do stuff. And you have to get it right. Just to have a way to store it so they don't get banged around all the time. So what I've got here is just some oil tan, mostly scraps from other projects. It's all the same leather. I had a hide of it, and these are just something that I started at one point and never finished. And maybe that is going to be what I use right there. So let's see what we can do. That's a pretty good sized piece. It was a project I evidently never started or never finished for something. I don't quite know what. I got a nice long strap here that might come in useful. That's another strap. So let's cut this thread and see what we can do with this. Well, I think this is the way I'm going to wind up with it. This way, I'm 3 inches up, and I can just roll this up to cover the end. I can run a strip across here. There's 8 tools in here, or 8 pieces to this. These 2 smaller ones I'll probably never ever use. One is a 5mm, the other is a 10mm. But 10mm is just a shade above 3/8 of an inch. So there is a chance that I'll use it. 15mm is just above a 9/16 of an inch. 9/16 and 14mm are about the same. So it's one of those things. Chances that I'm going to use these 2 are slim to none. Chances that I'm going to use most of these are pretty slim. But at this rate, I'm going to lay this across. I'm going to take some double-sided tape. I think it'll stick to this. To this side anyway. I don't think it'll stick to the darker side. This is it's really nice leather. It's been really nice to work with. Made a couple of haversacks out of it. It's really nice. It's a nice oil tan leather. It's very it's got some stretch to it. Doesn't really have a pull up to it, so to speak. I mean, you can't really, not that you can tell, but it's really nice leather to work with. But I think I'm going to probably do 2 straps, well, at least one for sure, down towards the bottom. And I want to leave the numbers, they are marked, 40, 35, 30, 25, on down. They're marked every 5mm increments. And really, I'm gonna go all the way out to the edge, and I'll stitch it down there, but then I'll stitch it in much closer to the tool because I want it to hold it pretty tight. And I'm going to hope that's going to do the job. I may only use the 1 strap. I might put a second one on. I don't know. Not sure yet exactly how I want to do that. I may run the strap at an angle because the tools kind of angle a little bit as they diminish in size. So I might just do it at an angle. I probably will. I change things up all the time. Just so you know. I kind of decided on this way. So all my smaller ones are going to be on the top. And I'm kind of going this way. I'm going to trying to do 2 at a time. And they're all the same size pricking iron. So I'm going to grab a second one here. Another 4mm. This is my craft tool. Nothing spectacular. But I found that if I put 2 here, I kept some spacing going here. And I just wanted to keep the spacing going. And I would have had to put 2 stitch lines in there anyway to keep that spacing. So that there's a little room between the ends up on here and this part, so they're not smashing together all the time. So if I put one of the smaller ones in between, everything stayed spaced nicely, or halfway decent anyway. So I made a hole there, and I'm just going to leave that chisel in there. And I'll make another set of holes right here. Like I said in another video, 4mm is probably my go-to size. So I don't just have one set of them. I have 3 sets. And they're all different brands. And that's all I've been doing. And it's much easier to work if I don't have the weight of the corner punches in there. And I'm not even doing a proper saddle stitch. I'm just kind of going around. Well, got them all in here. And I measured up. Well, I measured up 1 inch and put a mark. My ruler, this ruler, is 2 inches wide, so I just line up on that mark. And all these, the ones that butt up against the ruler there are at 3 inches. And then I butt everything else up. And that kind of puts us in there about like so. This one winds up a little closer to this one than I like, but it's okay. We're in good shape. So I need to cut this end off. To do that, I measured it off at 7.5 inches across from this corner to here. And I measured it on both sides, and all I'm going to do is cut that off. For that, I'm just going to use a rotary knife. Mostly because this leather cuts really nice that way. And there's a little tail here that I need to cut off. And that is about it. So this end will fold up. This end has enough to fold over, but I'm going to make it so it folds all the way over. We'll add a piece so that it folds all the way over. Yeah. And I don't know if I'm going to put a snap on there. A snap might be kind of tough. But I'll worry about that in a few minutes. First, I'm going to go ahead and sew this on, trim it down to 7.5, and we'll go from there. So I got my top stitched down, and in the end I just decided I was going to go with Segma snaps since I have plenty. It's not a snap that I use a lot of. So I'm just going to go ahead and set them. You always want to make sure you know which way they're going to go. On this one, I need the male part sticking up. So I'm going to put this piece, there's always 4 pieces to most snaps. There's different snaps that do different things. Most of the snaps I use, there's 4 pieces to them. For the male part of the snap, there's a rivet, basically a rivet, which will go here. And I will put it in my set. I'm going to take this punch out so that it's not in my way. Maybe that one. And I'll just turn that over. And then this male portion fits on there. And it does take a special setter, as with most snaps. This one has a hole in the end. I've modified this one a little bit because it wasn't quite right. And then you just put it over there, and you never want to beat on them too hard, but you got to get it in there so it's not moving. There we go. And we will do the same over here. Not so tough, is it? Oh, which one went where? This one goes here. That one goes there. So I already have snaps set here to hold the bottom up, because it's going to take more than just snaps on the top. Up here, now with Segma snaps, this part needs a bigger hole. So I've already marked my holes. And I'm just going to go ahead and punch these. I didn't get too fancy measuring anything. Like I said before, this is just for me. I'm not in the habit of making tool pouches. So it is what it is. This one is a little different too. Here's the cap. And this piece will go through the hole. And then the cap will go on. So it kind of, I don't know, this isn't going to show up very well. You'll have the cap, and then the leather, and this piece, someday I'll just do a snap setting video, will fit in there, and it'll go kind of like that. I don't have the greatest lighting in here today. Kind of wasn't planning on doing any videos, just kind of doing getting this done and getting some cleaning up done. And you just want to set it in there so it's not moving. And the same thing again over here. Now these snaps, while they're not my favorite, they seem to hold pretty well. And they're pretty easy to work with. The posts on the rivets here could be shorter. They are a little long. I don't like them for that reason mostly. Other than that, they're pretty easy snaps to use. But I can just do that. I've got a pouch that holds my tools securely in there. And it's one less thing I got to worry about rattling around and causing a problem. So there you go. That's kind of a down and dirty little tool pouch. It took me about an hour and a half to make, and some of that's, you know, making video time. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I'm going to go in and have some dinner. I've got about a million other projects I got to get done. I've got another tool pouch to make for these other punches. These are just kind of corner punches, but they're handy to have, really handy to have. And there you go. I'm using an oil tan leather because they're metal tools, and oil tan isn't going to hurt them. And I've got a lot of scrap because I use a lot of oil tan. I love oil tan leather. This is a really oily leather though. So there you go. Stay safe. God bless. We'll catch you in the next video.